So today I want to talk to you about CNG vehicles versus the fuel vehicle as it relates to ride sharing. CNG became a thing, I believe, sometime last year, especially when there was a very huge hike in, is it last year, last 2 years? When there was a very huge hike in the prices of fuel, and fuel was sometimes available, sometimes unavailable. It just kept going like so, like so. So CNG became a more viable option because it was cheaper and, well, they said environmental friendly, but I don't think anybody who did it was thinking of environment, to be honest. I think they were just thinking of, oh, it's cheap, and, well, it's cheap, actually. It's cheap. End of story. So CNG at the time was selling for around 200 and something. Maybe it's gone up now, I don't know, but let's just say maybe it's gone up 300 naira. It's still extremely cheap compared to the price of petrol. But here are some pros and cons, okay? On the one hand, the CNG, the capacity it can carry is only 15 kg. As far as I know, as far as my research, I don't use CNG, but according to my research, it can only carry a CNG cylinder, a 15 kg cylinder of CNG, right, which is fitted in the boot or in the trunk. But your fuel tank can carry up to 40 kg, can carry up to 50 kg, 50 liters, up to 50 liters worth of fuel. All right, that's a lot more, big, more than 2 times bigger than what a CNG would carry. Now, a CNG, on the other hand, burns faster. It's gas. It burns way faster than your fuel. The fuel does not burn as fast as a CNG. In fact, if you're looking for a vehicle that doesn't burn quickly, a byproduct of petroleum, or rather crude oil, that doesn't burn quickly, then you're looking for diesel. Diesel is the least when it comes to how flammable it is, right? It doesn't burn as quickly, and that's why it's most preferred for the bigger vehicles, because they need the power. Let's not get into that. Anyway, so another distinction would be that the CNG, unfortunately, it's not readily available everywhere. Most of the time, certain filling stations in a whole area or vicinity, even a town, only one filling station has CNG. So everybody has to line up there, and in case that filling station does not have a product to give, hence your problem, right? It feels like people literally stay there overnight just so that they can get CNG the next day, and only for said CNG to burn quite quickly too, and finish. Okay, I consider that more of a disadvantage, because per kilometer CNG burns 1 liter of, well, CNG. So basically, if you fill up the CNG tank or cylinder, you can only travel for about 150 kilometers. That is why the most of the time when they do this advert on CNG, or if a person is talking about it, they will tell you, see, with just how much I put for tank, let's say 3,000, okay, or so, that they were able to travel all the way to Kaduna, all the way to, no, those places are not that far. These are neighboring states. But if you put CNG in your car and you want to travel from Abuja to Port Harcourt, it's a lie. It's a lie. You will have to stop somewhere to refill. I think I'm talking as though I'm against CNG. I'm not. But the reality is the CNG burns faster. So 1 kilometer of CNG takes 1 liter out of 1 kilometer of travel takes 1 kilometer worth of CNG. So it burns that fast. However, in your normal vehicle, let's say using Corolla as a case study, 1 kilometer of travel takes 0.7 liters of fuel. Okay, so CNG burns like a little bit more, basically. Okay, but it compiles when you're going for a longer distance. It compiles. All right. Um, the other thing is there is a very huge disadvantage if you are like a kind of person that wants to work all day. With CNG, I don't think you can do that. You may be able to start in the morning, and then by evening, let's say by 6, 7, your CNG is probably on reserve or very low. But for fuel, you can actually go all day if you have a full tank. You can go all day up to 18 hours or even 20 hours, right? So that's also one of the advantages. For the CNG, for instance, I had a conversation with somebody who had converted to CNG, and then he tells me about the kinds of journey he takes, or the trips he takes. He said on InDrive he goes for the city to city, so basically the out of station kind of trip. When they book him, maybe wants to go, the person wants to go to Kaduna, Benin, Lagos, wherever. He said he takes nothing less than 50,000. Now, for a person using fuel, that is very stupid, because 50,000 is probably something around what you may be needing in fuel. You may not necessarily need to exhaust it. Let's say if you're going to Kaduna, not really. You won't need to exhaust it, but the profit margin is not going to be worth it, especially if you don't get a return back. Most of the time, they never do. Okay. Or less, of course, you're willing to wait in Kaduna until somebody is wanting to come down to Abuja, right? So it's a bit tricky. But for him, he said it's very profitable. Why? Because he only has to fill up his CNG with, let's say, 4,000, 5,000, I don't know, and then driving all the way to Kaduna and coming back, maybe filling up also at some station, some CNG station over there in Kaduna. It will still, let's say, it cost him around 10,000 to fill up the CNG to go and come, and then he still has a profit of around 40,000. You get? So for him, it makes more sense, right? If you're on CNG, by the way, that's also an idea for you to explore. So he tells me that he goes all the way to Benin, he's gone to Kaduna. He doesn't do the normal trips where he goes from here to, no, he doesn't do that, right? Because the problem is if a CNG finishes, you cannot readily buy it. You will not see a station just by the roadside, or no. That's for fuel. For fuel, every single filling station has fuel. That's the basic thing that they have in their station. Okay. So also I hear, the guy whose vehicle has a CNG, he says he has the option for fuel. Now, if you have the option for fuel, wow, do you understand? Because whenever CNG doesn't function or I can't find CNG, I can always use my fuel. But I don't know how viable it is. Like, can I actually fill up my fuel tank and it's fine, it's okay, like no problem? Or is it the kind of thing where, no, I can only buy 5 liters in fuel? I can't buy beyond that, otherwise there may be some malfunction or something like that. That part I was not able to get, but he kept insisting that he only buys 5 liter. I could not get it out of him to tell me why only 5 liter. Why not just fill up your fuel tank, and whenever CNG is not available, you switch? Because presently I always find people queuing up for CNG in most stations. Other day I was in Gwagwalada, I saw, they all queue up, and how you know it's CNG is because they fill it up, I think, from the bonnet of the vehicle. So they all queue up like facing the pump. I saw in Gwagwalada, I saw, if you're coming back, from the airport area, I think there's one NIPCO filling station, I think it's CNG as well. Also, before the city gate, there's CNG that you also see a queue. It's like a lot of people are converting, but not a lot of stations are selling, unfortunately, right? So at the moment, it feels like it's not a very, very strong, there's no strong argument behind the CNG, right? Even though it's a lot more cheaper option, it's not necessarily 100% the most recommendable option at the moment. So if you're thinking of CNG, my humble opinion would be wait a little bit. Let's have a more let it be more widespread. Okay, let's have more users. Let's have more people who are willing to sell CNG in their stations. So whenever you want CNG, it is readily available. Because one of the worst experiences of buying fuel some last year or last 2 years was the scarcity of it. It's very annoying, the experience having to queue up for fuel and waiting and waiting, and it's like boy, it wasn't good anyway. So it's always nice to have fuel readily available so that you can just take fuel on the go whenever you need to. All right, so that is my humble opinion, but on the other hand, the CNG does have so many benefits. Right, at the moment, the last time I asked, they said CNG conversion is around 699,000. This was in Lokogoma. Lokogoma Junction, drive straight like you're going towards the basic estate. There's a filling station to your right. They do a CNG conversion there. So the guy there told me it was 699 or something. It used to be 900 and something, it used to be 800 or something. It's going to keep falling, so keep your eyes out for it. I'm sure it's going to fall as low as 100,000 very soon, especially when there are more people that are into it and doing it. So obviously converting wouldn't be such a hassle at some point. So yeah, if you do plan to convert, then that will be your cue to get in and convert. Okay, so that's just my opinion anyway. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.